Welcome back, everyone. My name is Ember, and today we are continuing our One Piece journey with volume, what is this, 29. Once again, we are pushing a little bit further into Skypiea. This covers chapters 265 to 275. So this covers Robin's fight with Yama, all the way up through when, Eneru revives himself. So, again, this was mostly a fighty chapter, but this was... It also had that signature One Piece chaos to it. Whereas the previous volume was mostly like just one-on-one fights. So it felt a little bit more segmented. This one is just everything fucking running into each other. Pure One Piece chaos. I really like the chaos fights a lot more than the one-on-one fights. So far, that is. But, like, I'm trying to find this one very indicative moment of this. But, yeah, just this massive square off of different people. Like, the giant snake gets involved at one point. God, I wish I had I need to start bookmarking some of this shit. But, like, this... I'll find it eventually. But, like, eventually there's, like, the five-way fight. It's, like, Zoro, Viper, Eneru, and the Snake. Or is Eneru in the fight at that point? I don't know. Might have been someone else, but... Yeah, I think it was someone else. But there's, like, this five-way fight going. There's a giant snake that's taking part in the fight. Luffy and Nami and Aisa and Ganfor are inside the snake. They got ate by the snake, and they're trying to figure their way out. Just fucking chaos, and I love it. I love this aspect of One Piece's adventurous kind of fight scenes, and some pretty cool stuff going on as well. I mean, you've got a giant snake and a guy with basically shooting a laser cannon at it. It's fucking wild, and I love it. Just the sheer... What's the word I'm looking for? Just the sheer insanity of it all is so cool. And of course we also get some really fucking cool action spreads as well. With the lightning powers in play, we're definitely getting a lot more, what do you call it? A lot more contrast in lighting, leaning a lot more into darker blacks and whiter whites and such. Oh, and there's a dog in the fight. A giant dog that can punch people and stand on two legs. I love it. I liked that, there's also a lot of really solid character beats in here as well. It was interesting that Eneru and Robin kind of were on the same... They understood each other in terms of historical, like, significance and stuff. They understood the importance of history and stuff, and they had a brief little conversation about that before Eneru zapped the shit out of her. But that was a really interesting idea. And of course, while I'm still on the fights, just Eneru, like, reviving him. Bringing the Sea Prism into it makes sense. That's really the only way I could think of to really stick it to Eneru, like, the Sea Prism being something that cancels out Devil Fruit powers. Because he really does, like the characters really pointed out, he does seem pretty much invincible at this point. Like, his body is made of lightning. How do you fight that? And the only way so far seems to be to find something that can cancel out his lightning powers, like the Sea Prism. And of course, if they had held it on his body for maybe like a couple minutes longer, then they might have won. But then he ends up using his own lightning powers to, like, defibrillate his heart, basically. That was a really cool trick he pulled out. Just the fuck the just the absolute monstrous power that this guy radiates really makes him a strong villain of sorts. And we're playing a little bit more into the some ideas of colonialism and power and stuff with him too. Like I'm trying to remember exact. I had a thought about this, but the politics regarding what should happen with the island is with the Shandora part of the island, the part that was blasted into the sky. It almost is like Eneru is kind of on the sky people's side with this stuff. He's like, this didn't belong to you. I'm going to return it to where it came from. Now, if there wasn't genocide involved in that, I might agree with him. But but yeah, so his plan is basically to explode Skypiea basically and send it back down to send it back down to the Grand Line. And I guess he's going off to like the land of the gods or something. I don't know about that. This god complex thing is really starting to build up with him. He is like, I'm not gonna say he's obsessed with being that's just his state of being. Like he just is a god to himself and to pretty much everyone else. Like towards the end we see like he zaps Conus's dad, and she has to run off and warn the villagers that Eneru is going to destroy everything. But we also get that little bit of like some of the kids who are like completely brainwashed by Eneru at this point into thinking like he is Kami, he is the god, and so they have to obey him. So that's going to be interesting to see how far she actually gets with that. Yeah, it's the very complicated politics going on here, and I like it. God, I feel like I had more to say about the politics of this whole thing, but maybe if I scroll through a little bit of it. Oh wow. But yeah, this is another short one, I think. Even though this was technically a longer volume, this had 11 chapters in it as opposed to 9 or 10, but again, a lot of it was fighting. Got a little bit of the... Yeah, there were a few moments of, like, the typical, like, macho-ness in certain things. It's mostly through Zoro, like, he doesn't like when girls get beat up. But, I think by this point, I think we've established that people like Robin and Nami are very much on the same level as everyone else. So you don't have to be like, well, she's a woman, how could you do that? And even Eneru, apparently I agree with Eneru. He's like Zoro's like, she's a woman. And Eneru's like, yes, she was. That is true. So, I'm not bothered by it that much, especially since it mostly just seems isolated to Zoro. But it's a little archaic at this point. But yeah, really solid volume overall. I really enjoyed the build up of Eneru as this real, like, both in power and in how he speaks of himself being a god and just acting like it. Of course, he's a really malevolent god. I certainly wouldn't want to worship him. Oh, there was one other thing I remembered about the fights. There was this moment where what's her name? Robin. Like she's fighting Yama. I keep wanting to say King Yama because of Yu Yu Hakusho, but just regular Yama. She's fighting Yama and like throwing him around with her powers, and like you see her like rubbing her shoulders because he's like so heavy that he's like straining her like devil fruit arms. So that was a kind of interesting seeing how like those arms actually are still part of her body and that like they affect the rest of her body. So that was cool. I think that's about all I have to say for now. Hoping Luffy shows up to the fight proper at this point instead of just running around in the snake forever. Like, it'll probably be soon. I imagine at the very earliest it'll be halfway through the next volume. But I imagine it'll be closer to the end of the next volume. Like, Oda's doing this thing again where he, like, is breaking up the Straw Hats so that they're all not fighting the same enemy at once. He tends to do that. It's an interesting way to do that, but it is kind of readable at this point. So hopefully Luffy shows up to the fight proper soon. In case anyone was wondering, Luffy is still my favorite Straw Hat at this point. Though Nami and Robin are certainly up there as well. But that's all I have to say so far. Join me again tomorrow for Volume 30. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment and all that stuff. My name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.